I finally used my cinch. Let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to Crafting with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that paper crafts are not my thing, but I was able to use the Cinch Machine and I made this cute craft journal, and I definitely want to share the process with you. At the end of this video, if you find it helpful, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and turning on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's get started. The materials I use for this project include several from We Are Memory Keepers, including the cinch, the trim and scoreboard, the binding wires, and the wire clippers. I also used 2-inch thick double-sided tape. I also used a thinner roll of double-sided tape. The package of paper came from Dollar Tree. There are 3 packs inside the 1 pack. I also used 1 sheet of heavy chipboard and paper that came from a pack from the Echo Park line of paper. I will make sure it is linked below the video. Let's start with the heavy chipboard. Just take 1 sheet and we are going to cut that at a size of 5.5 by 8 1/2. Next, get 2 sheets of cardstock that will serve as your front and back cover. I'm going to cut that white strip off, and then I will cut each sheet of cardstock to 7.5 by 10.5. It's important to make sure that your paper is the right side up depending on the design that you want to be on the front and back cover. This will not matter if your image does not have any words or anything that needs to be right side up. Now this will serve as my front cover and it will wrap perfectly around the piece of heavy chipboard. I'll repeat this process, cutting off the white strip and cutting another sheet that is 7.5 by 10.5. This is an example of a sheet where it doesn't matter the direction that I cut it in. Now this part right here is optional, but I am going to cut 2 sheets of cardstock that are sized at 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 to serve as my inside covers of my journal. This is also optional, but inside the Dollar Tree package of paper, there are 3 sheets of heavy chipboard that divides the packs. What I decided to do instead of taking those out is cover them with cardstock. I only covered 2 of mine, so I needed 4 sheets of cardstock to do that. If you are planning to use all 3, then you would need 6 sheets of cardstock. I covered the front and the back. This paper pack came with this sheet and I decided to cut these out as cards and use them to embellish my journal. I'm finished with the trim and scoreboard, so I'm just going to unlock it and fold it and just move it to the side. Now let's open the package of paper from Dollar Tree. This package of paper comes with a total of 90 sheets, but remember it also has those 3 sheets of chipboard to separate the packages. And because it has this blue adhesive at the top, what I did was I decided that I would make my journal with the binding at the top because it's nearly impossible to remove all of that adhesive. I just took time separating the sheets. Be careful because the sheets are very thin. I'm just going to get them all separated so I can get started. So I have removed as much adhesive as I can from the top, but it really won't matter because the binding is going to be up there anyway. So what I have at here is 30 sheets, then chipboard, then another 30 sheets, then chipboard, then 30 sheets, and I'm going to remove that back sheet because I don't need it. Now let's start to put the book together. I'm going to take my first piece of heavy chipboard and I'm going to get it centered in the middle of my cardstock cover. So I'm using the 2-inch thick double-sided tape and I'm just going to tear pieces and get it put on the back. Now be careful with this tape because it is very sticky, and once you place it down you cannot get it back off. So I just put one piece on the left edge and one piece on the right edge, and I use my weeding tool to remove the backing. Then I added 2 pieces of tape, one at the top and one at the bottom. And I once again used the weeding tool to remove the backing. Then I flipped the chipboard over and centered it as much as I could in the middle of the cardstock. I pressed it down to make sure that it was well adhered to the cardstock and that it was flat. And then I just started to fold it over and I used the scoring tool that came with the trim board, the We Are Memory Keepers trim board. Then I just took my scissors and I cut off all of the corners at a diagonal from all 4 sides. Now I'm just folding the cardstock over the chipboard and using the scoring tool to make sure it's nice and flat. I love the fact that that trim board came with the scoring tool because I was unable to find one separately. After I have scored all 4 sides, I am going to use the thinner roll of the double-sided tape and I'm going to place tape down inside each of the flaps. Now I'm finished with the front cover and I think it looks excellent. And you can't even imagine how proud I am of myself because I am not a paper crafter. Now I will repeat this same exact process for the back cover. I will speed this part up. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did for the front cover. Here I am applying the tape to the back, 2 sheets the long way and 2 strips the other way. Cutting the corners at a diagonal, scoring and adding the smaller pieces of tape to the inside flap. And this is the finished back cover. Now I'm going to use those 2 sheets of cardstock that were cut at 5.5 by 8.5 as my inside design covers. I'm just using 2 pieces of tape the long way and 2 pieces of tape the short way. Remember, this part is also optional because you can leave the front and back covers exposed with the heavy chipboard if you like it like that. Okay, I'm just going to go over this with my scoring tool, and I'll repeat the same process for my front cover, adding the double-sided tape to the back and securing it to the back of the front cover. Now it's time to bring the Dollar Tree paper back in. I have my front and back cover. Here is the first set of 30 sheets. There is the first piece of chipboard that's inside. I'm just going to take one of my sheets of cardstock that is cut at 5 by 8, and I am going to get it adhered to the chipboard. I'm going to adhere a piece to the front and to the back. Now for these, I used 3 pieces of double-sided tape, just going straight down the middle. Once I finished the front, I noticed there was a little bit of overlap, so I trimmed that away and I continued to add cardstock. Now remember, this part is also optional because you can just take these out or you can leave them blank, but I think it just made the journal even cuter by adding the additional cardstock. So I did the same thing with the tape. I added 3 pieces down the middle. Then I repeated this process again for the second sheet of chipboard. Now, There are 3 pieces of chipboard, but I only did this with 2 of them, but that will also be a matter of personal preference. Since this paper pack came with these 3x4 cards, I decided to cut them out and use them as embellishments. So right here, all I'm doing is going through and seeing which one would look the best where. And once I make a decision, I just added some double-sided tape to the other side and got it taped down. I did that throughout the whole entire journal on all of the chipboard pieces. I really liked all of these little cards, so the hardest part of this was choosing which one to use. The only ones I could not use were the ones that had anything to do with sewing, because that's not a craft that I've gotten into. Since I still had that one left, I decided to go ahead and place it on the back of the journal, and I think it was really, really cute. Okay, now we have our journal ready to be bound with our cinch. I've already selected the wire that I'm going to use. The package that I purchased came with 16 different colors and it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. So this is my journal and I want you to stay tuned because I am going to show you an inside peek of what I have in here already. And we are getting ready to put this one together. So the first thing we do is we are going to remove the inside. So we're only going to start with the outside covers, which is the front and the back. So I'm just going to put this over here to the side. I do have my clippers, my wire clippers right here, and they're ready. All right, so with the cinch, when you take it out of the package, it's actually going to come and like this. It's going to be clipped down like this out of the box. So you just take this little piece off and open it up. These right here are called pegs, and there are 12 pegs that come with the cinch. Each of the pegs should be pushed all the way in. They should all be at the exact same level. When a peg is pulled out and you push the cinch machine down, there won't be a hole in that area, okay? So we want to make sure that all of them are pushed all the way in. Now, my advice, the very first time you use this is to do what I call test punches, because you want to make sure it's going to line up exactly where you want it to go. And since I'm starting with the chipboard, I'm going to do my test punches on chipboard. So I'm going to get a sheet and I'm going to make sure it's the same size as this. And I'm going to do a test punch to see where to line this up. I have a sheet of chipboard and it's the exact same size as my cover. Okay, so this is the 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to just line it up right here, right at the 0 where this bar is. And I'm just going to press down and see what happens. Okay, so I had it lined up exactly at the bar, and I can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's half of an 11. So what that tells me is that I need to pull the pin for punch number 11 because I don't want that half. See that half that's right there? I don't need that. So I'm going to pull this pin out. So if I turn this sideways, you'll see that one is pulled out and the rest of them are pushed all the way in. Okay, so I think I'm going to put the camera back overhead so you can see this better. I think that'll be a better view. Okay, so you can see that number 11 is pulled all the way out, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to try that again. So I'm just, instead of getting another sheet of chipboard, I'm going to use the opposite end, and I'm going to try it again. I have my chipboard lined up with this edge right here. So I'm going to push it down. Okay, and so that's exactly right. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 holes. And that means I need to have 10 wires or 10 coils going through these holes. So I'm going to count the number right here. 1 on the thin side of the coil. So there's a thin side and there's a side that looks more like a U. So I'm going to count on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to clip it right here in the middle of the U. So I'm using the wire clippers. I'm going to go all the way up and just clip right there. Okay. So now, since I know this is the right spot, I'm just going to put the back cover in my cinch facing up. Remember, this is the back. So the back is going to go in facing up. The table might shake. Okay. So there's that. Now here's my front cover. My front cover is going to go in facing down. Okay, so now I have my back cover and my front cover, and they are aligned. I can see, if I put my finger through there, you can see the holes. Perfect. All right, so now what I need to do are the inside pages. But remember, the inside pages are not the same size as the outside pages. So what I'm going to do is a test cut again. I'm going to line this up and see what I need, if there are any changes I need to make with these punches. So I'm going to line it up right here at the edge and see what happens. Okay, so I'm in that same situation where I have that half hole again. Let me make sure you can see that. See that I have a half hole, and I don't want that. I want these to all be lined up, and I still want to have 10 holes. So what I'm going to have to do is move my paper over a little bit further from the edge. So let me just look inside and make sure that my paper starts right at the one, and I'm going to line it up that way so that I get a full punch from pin 10 and all 10 of these holes. I want a punch from each one. Okay, so I did get 10 holes that time, and what I had to do was line it up on the 1/4 inch mark. So I moved the paper over and I lined it up right here at the quarter of an inch mark. So now once I put my paper in, it'll all line up with these holes. Okay, so I'm going to do that with all the rest of the paper. And this paper is very thin, so I do think I can do I think I can do all 30 of these at one time. This paper is very, very thin. Taking a risk, but I think I can do it. So I'm lining it up at the 1/4 inch mark. Okay, I did it. All right, so that's going to line up there. Then I continue with the rest of the inside of the journal. I did the inner chipboard pieces separately because they are a little bit thicker. I did a test punch first with that back piece just to make sure I was supposed to line it up at the 1/4 inch mark, and I was right. So I did that one. And then I continued with the paper. I didn't do 30 sheets at a time as I did with that first pack. I kind of just did like 15 sheets, even though they were thin sheets. I lined them all up at the 1/4 inch mark and punched the rest of the sheets. After punching all that paper, I could tell that the tray in the back was getting full. So I just pulled it out and dumped all of those paper punches out. And I turned it back around so that I could finish. Now that I'm finished with all of the hole punches, I am going to place the wire on the side and start to line the sheets and the covers up on the wire. I am going to start with the back cover, and then I'll just grab a few sheets at a time and make sure that I'm lining them up the way they should be. I'm going to carefully remove my journal from the side and over here to the back. Make sure that the wires are facing the cinch. And I'm going to place the journal inside the cinch, holding it, and then I will make an adjustment so that once I press the clamp to close the wires, that it will form a circle. If it's not tight enough, then the wires will not be closed around my journal, so I'll have to adjust it. You just push down and adjust the knob to your liking. Once it's adjusted, push down and your journal will be complete. So this is the completed journal, and I have to just say I love it. You know I'm going to say I love it. I love the way this one came out. To be honest, I think I love it more than this one, but this is my current one. And as I promised, I would show you what the inside looks like and show you how I use it. So with this one, all I do with a typical craft journal is I write down my ideas as they come to me. So for example, here are some project ideas that I have in mind. Infusible ink on a mug, infusible ink socks, sublimated coin purse, just some things I've been thinking of. And what I also do, once I get ready to start a project, I'll write down the materials that I need. So right here, since my first project idea was infusible ink on a mug, I wrote down the materials that I would need, and then I wrote down the process. And that's how I use my craft journal. I'd love to hear your ideas of how you use your craft journal, or if you're even planning to make a craft journal. At any rate, hopefully you have found this tutorial helpful. I just love the way these came out. I just think they are so cute, and I can't see myself purchasing another journal. I'm probably going to be making them from now on. If you have found this tutorial helpful, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and turning on the bell for notifications, because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye.